Hey, Steamy here. So today I am attempting Little Simsies Impossible Build Challenge. This challenge is like a tiny build challenge that was issued by one of the Sims gurus. I forget which one. I will link to Little Simsies video in whichever one of those places you link it, and in the description down below. So what this challenge was you have a budget of 12,000 simoleons. You have to fit 3 Sims, 2 adults, 1 child, in the house. You cannot use bb.move objects or show hidden objects, and you have a max 32 tile enclosure. I definitely think I might have accidentally done these rules a bit wrong after having watched the Sim Guru's live stream on the new Tiny Living Pack, because I think a deck counts as an enclosure. I was thinking interior space of the house, so maybe I messed up on the challenge, but frankly this build would still work if I just like lowered the foundation and got rid of the fencing, and then I would have had a lot more money, and I could have done like shrubs or something along the sides to make the place feel a little bit more enclosed instead of the fences, and it wouldn't have been an enclosure. So, whatever. I might redo this build when the Tiny Living Pack comes out just to see like how it holds up with the stuff pack. But anyway, so here's me trying to do the build. I started off by laying down all of the little objects the normal sized objects, to see how well they fit in the very little house. I also kept switching between live mode and build mode because I needed to see whether my Sims could actually access things, because without the move objects cheat, it's like I don't really know exactly, even with move objects cheat, I'm never like really confident in like where you can place things where Sims can still get around them, because the logic for that is not always intuitive for me. But one of the things I did find out was that so in the kitchen I have like the counters there, and the end piece is a small counter instead of a full-size counter. And because of that, and the fact that the kitchen chair doesn't take up too much room, if I put the computer with the chair and the counter in the same place, the Sims could get around it, which was great. But yeah. So anyway, so I go to the outside. This is where I'm adding the deck that shouldn't be there, but yeah. And then I start playing how to make the roofs look decent, which is a long game that I don't really recommend, but I mean, you gotta do it on a house. So I'm gradually getting better at roofs. They're really not my strong suit. Um, I also decided that the house is looking really weirdly yeah, rectangular. So I was trying to find ways to like break up the shape a little bit more. Um, so adding a little bit of like interest to the roof, so I was like making some of the roof glass, some of it not. I was trying to just play with different things that I could do to add interest to the house, because yeah, it was real boxy for a bit. I ended up pretty happy with what I did here. Like, it's definitely not perfect or whatever, but there's definitely some like texture and interest in the front, and lots of, I think it'd be really, really nice. It's like an actual useful space. I thought adding those little like edge swirlies or whatever, it's not the official name of them, but I always forget what they're called, next to the columns helped blend in the weird like white chunk you get underneath glass roofs a bit better. I also realized that there's no lighting inside of the house, which was not ideal. So I was trying to figure out like how to light stuff affordably, and the answer is not very well. Um, I also had not put down any paint yet, so I wanted to make sure that I had factored paint into my budget, so I just painted it mauve for now, and then I went back in and changed the colors. Same thing with carpet. I just like put some flooring down so I had something to start with, because you need to start from somewhere. So I found kind of one of the cheaper tables for outside that seated 4. Got them 4 dining chairs. I was debating whether to put the table in the back or the front, and I eventually decided in the back, because like if it were realistically like my house, I would rather do dining in the back, just because I'm much more comfortable like sitting in a chair on the front porch looking out at the neighborhood than I am like eating on the front porch. I don't know. Eating just feels like a more private activity to me. I say like I don't eat in parks and restaurants and stuff all the time, but like, you know. I also was like really annoyed by all this extra space in the master bedroom, but there was like nothing I could do to get around that. So what I'm doing here is I realized that the front door is a weird place to go and buy. So I moved the front door over to the other side because it's a little bit more of a private entrance. It makes it more of a like cozy nook for the couch. But the thing is, to do that, I deleted 2 tiles. And then I got distracted by other things, like painting the house and, oh no, I don't have windows, and various things like that. So I never actually realized for the entire remainder duration of the build that I was lacking 2 tiles. So it's actually turned out to be a 30 tile build challenge instead of a 32 tile build challenge, which I don't recommend. I mean, it worked. But if I'd had those extra 2 tiles, I could have had like an actual sink in the bathroom. I could have had, you know, other stuff. I don't know. It would have been good, but I didn't have it. Started putting windows in. I got a little window seat for the kids' room because I thought that was sweet. I got a what did I get? I added some columns to like help kind of blend in where the stonework meets the paint. I wanted to get fences, but realized I couldn't afford them. But I'm like, that's not a very safe deck if there's no fencing. So I was like, okay, well, like, where can I save a little bit of money to make that work? So I start like swapping out objects for other objects that are cheaper than them. The problem with that is because I had kept switching back from live and buy mode, a lot of the objects depreciated in value, which is what happens in The Sims. And that's not part of the challenge. So I wanted to make sure that I was like getting my money's worth. So you'll see me like continually opening the cheat menu and then like adding in the like, oh, it depreciated by, you know, $14 and giving myself $14 so that I could like continue going, which felt really dumb, but it was also like the budget's so tight that you really need it. Let's see, what else did we have? Yeah, just getting windows in all the different rooms. I was starting to like paint things and try and like get the colors a bit nicer. Um, the colors kind of kept feeling like either like too monochrome or too clashing. I kind of ended up going a little bit monochrome in the kids' room. I was also debating on flooring, and I realized that I don't know, it was just kind of nicer having the whole house because it's so small, having the floor be the same for everything. Also, don't think I talked about it earlier, but I ended up putting the sink in between the bathroom and the kitchen because there wasn't enough room for a sink in each room. I mean, there would have been if I had realized I had 2 extra tiles, but without them, there wasn't. So I wanted to make sure that there was that. That was a really lame sentence. I wanted to make sure that the sink was in between the two so it was actually easy to use if you're thinking about it as a practical house. Frankly, the house is small enough that there's no place you could put the sink that would make it like really all that inconvenient, but I don't know. It just seemed nicer to have, if you're going to be sharing it between 2 rooms, to have it be between the 2 rooms that are sharing it. I also swapped out the counter for one that matched the sink that's there. I added a toy chest as a nightstand in the kids' room because it looks like a nightstand. You can't put objects on it, but it looks like a nightstand. And it still has, like, it has a function. So the more things that are multifunctional, the better. And then I was down to like 81 simoleons. I'm like, how on earth am I going to make this house look decent with 81 simoleons? So I get a tree and I like make the tree big. I started doing some terrain paint, which I'm like not hot stuff at, but I tried. I'm sorry. I apologize for my terrain paint efforts here. But having a little bit more texture helped. And then I was scrolling through for like anything I could afford, and the answer was just like not much, especially stuff that had like real visual impacts. So I try all these different things, and I'm like, oh, maybe this will be nice, maybe this will be nice. But ultimately, it's like, what had the most visual impact? Having more trees. So I went with more trees. I had 1 simoleon left. It felt dumb to just have 1 simoleon left, so I got these like paw print decals and put them in the kids' room because like, what else are you gonna do with 1 simoleon? But ultimately, I was pretty proud of the build. We got, you know, enough room for everyone and some good functional objects. But yeah, so that was Little Simsies Impossible Build Challenge. I honestly, after watching the Sim Guru's video where they like went through and showed a bunch of like showcase builds, I was like, I don't even want to post this. This is awful. Other people are so much better at building than I am. And then I was like, okay, first of all, yes, other people are so much better at building than I am, but you get better by actually doing it. And second of all, I mean, they weren't necessarily working with the same constraints that I was working with. I was working under like a really tight budget, no move objects. I wasn't using any of like those free objects that you get from Show Hidden Objects. Like it was really, really limited. And that's, you know, that's the point of the challenge. Like the challenge is supposed to be set up in a way that it's really hard to have a house that is attractive and functional and meets all the requirements. So given how tight the constraints were, I was actually pretty proud of this. If you know of any other build challenges that you think would be fun to try, let me know. I'd be happy to do more of them. And thanks to Little Simsy for sharing this one with the world. It was like really frustrating and I kind of panicked a bit while doing it, but it was fun and it's nice because I really don't do enough building and it's nice to get to play with it a bit. So anyway, if you liked this video, please like it, subscribe, leave me comments. I am always happy to hear your feedback and I will post another video soon. See you then. Bye.